Welcome to the Flower Lounge, a place for conversations with wildly creative people and a little plant-loving wisdom to help you experience life in full bloom. I'm Katie Hess, flower alchemist and founder of LOTUSWEI, and I believe in a world where we're all living at our personal edge. Welcome to the Flower Lounge. I have a special guest this week.
Very special.
With a very special accent that you guys are going to love.
Very special.
Joining us from somewhere in Canada.
Today it will be Vancouver.
It's Vancouver. So let me just tell you about how I met Ian. He was like in a lineup of marketing heroes at this massive marketing conference that I went to many, many years ago. And I read all the bios of these like marketing heroes the night before, and his was the only one that I was like, wow, this guy's like actually like a real guy running a real business with a real vision and who has the like core motivation to benefit the world. And all the rest of the, so-called marketing heroes, bless their hearts, just seemed like kind of like a, fluffy marketing mumbo jumbo. But this guy like really had authenticity and integrity in what he did. And I really was like, I want to meet this guy. So I walked up to him, didn't know him, grabbed him, was like, I read your thing last night. I read all about your business. You're a real guy. I want to talk with you. Will you mentor me? What can you share with me? So this is the crazy story of how I met Ian several years ago. And since then, we've become really close. I've become close with his wife. We've stayed at their house. I've actually had his wife on the podcast in earlier episodes, Jeannie Patel Thompson. Hers is great. Highly recommend it. And we talk about horses. So I think this conversation is going to go all over the map, but just let me give you like the nuts and bolts. And this is a super smart guy, ad marketing executive from the UK. He spent a ton of time in Hong Kong. He worked with British Airways, Hong Kong Telecom, set up his own advertising firm in Vancouver. Super big shot guy. Eventually left all of that to join his wife in her own business. And they started an online health store in 2002 and just grew it up like crazy. They have a fascinating journey. Now they're selling to people in the UK, Australia, Canada, all over the world in 80 different countries. Right, Ian?
84 now, I think.
84. Oh my God. He's super. They also call him the Cheeky Brit. He's Coach Tomo. He has a lot of nicknames. He loves to inspire and encourage entrepreneurs. He has an Instagram page called The Full Business where he does really funny and interesting videos. His passion is football, aka soccer, coaching, playing, all that stuff. So thanks for coming on, Ian.
Hey, Katie, you actually make me sound brilliant now.
You are brilliant.
Thank you. We play in our brilliance. And you know what? Everybody out there who's listening to this, you are very blessed to have someone like Katie purporting a whole bunch of wonderful information, whatever it might be, which can inspire you to maybe make that extra little step in your life, whatever it is, whether it's business, making money, friendships, looking after your animals better, doing more exercise, whatever, to actually get your life going a little. Because all of us right now can energetically do something to not call raise consciousness, but do things where everybody can win a little bit better. And I don't mean win as in getting rich. What I mean is that everybody can enrich themselves so everybody else can be more enriched. And so everything, the whole of humanity can be better. And that's really the purpose of why I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. There you go.
Yes. Ian is super playful and funny and humorous. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to preface this conversation. He is brilliant in business. So, we're going to start with this conversation, and maybe if folks have questions, we can do another podcast later in the fall.
Absolutely.
But let's just to give some background. I know this is kind of going far back in your history, but like what would make a super fancy, high rolling executive guy like you decide to leave all of that, international business and probably pretty high salaries behind and then work for your wife's business? That's a pretty big move.
Yeah. Okay. The first thing here, is that the key word that I got out from maybe 10, 15 years ago when I was at a conference is actually one word. it became a word that is probably the most powerful thing that drives what I do right now. And that word is meaningful, right? And everything we now do within our businesses and, in our lives with our kids and family and blah, 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 is all based on meaning, all right? And the purpose of that meaning. And all the work that I was doing before as a salesperson and advertising and blah, 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 it was good because I was selling services and stuff. But as soon as Jeannie's book started to materialize, I realized there was a bigger purpose to what I was supposed to be doing. And that purpose started to become how people out there are really suffering. And I have the ability to be able to help a lot of those people with what Jeannie had created. And I owed it to the world to be able to help those people and accelerate that. And that's really it. That's really what it came down to. And obviously there's money and all that type of stuff that kicked in. But I didn't sit there and say, look, I'm earning $5 million in my corporate job. I'm going to give all that up and I'm going to earn nothing for the next 10 years. I didn't look at that fear. I didn't look at that risk. What I looked at was the purpose of the meaning to, why I was actually stepping out to do what I was going to do. And you know what? If I had looked at the fear, I probably would never have done it, which is why part of the journey is actually taking that step. And there's this great one line I learned from Richard Branson about a couple of years ago. And he just says, listen, the way to learn is to do. All right. If you don't do, you don't learn. There's no such thing as wrong or right. And then once you get into that zone, I know I'm going on a bit here, Katie, but once you get into this zone of moving and doing, it becomes thrilling. Because even if you make that step and it might feel that it's the wrong step, it doesn't matter. You can then pivot and then turn right or left and then tweak and change and then make it a little bit better or make it not so bad or make it even better than the good that it is, all right? And that then becomes the thrill of the journey in entrepreneurship, in my humble, honest, wonderful, loving opinion.
Oh, totally. I totally agree. Like you never have everything figured out. You're like constantly trying to figure out the next step, right?
Oh my gosh.
Always.
Like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much you got. Like Jeannie and I right now are going through probably one of our biggest challenges.
Really?
And our biggest challenge right now is not necessarily how do we make more money. Our biggest challenge now is the opportunity that's coming for not only us, but our kids. And how do we now accommodate the brilliance of what's going on and pack it all in so that everybody wins. All right. And it's probably one of our biggest challenges that we've had. And this time it's not a cash flow thing. This time it's, oh my gosh, how do we help my son, my daughter, and so on and so forth. And so, and I was having this great chat last night with Jeannie's cousin about this, and she was like brainstorming with me about, oh, I'm stuck here, whatever. And I said, you have to live in the journey. You have to live in the day. You have to live in the hurdle that you're just about to go over. You have to have extreme joy in what you're doing in this particular minute. If you don't have that joy, you got to figure out in yourself what is going on as to why that's not happening and then change it.
Okay, so what if somebody listening is like, I'm in a job, I'm stuck, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have an idea for a business, but I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that person?
Well, if you're not happy in your job, you're in that job for a reason. I was in the corporate world for 30 years for very good reasons, because without that 30 years of corporate job, oh, I don't like this job, they're not paying me enough, because we all go through that, okay? Oh, I hate commuting, I don't want to go to, it's 8 to 5, blah, blah, blah. But I now look back at that, and I took that step out of the job. So I can totally relate to that person thinking that right now. And there's a couple of ways that you can do it. You can go cold turkey. You can resign, which is what I did. I left a huge paying job in Hong Kong to go marry someone I'd known for 6 weeks, move to another country, get married in Las Vegas with 2 suitcases, trust that this woman that I didn't really know had got a nice place to rent in Vancouver that I'd never been to before. And she'd thrown 50% of where my belongings that arrived there because she didn't like them.
Oh.
Yeah. And I quit on March the 1st. And all my friends thought, Ian, you are absolutely freaking nuts. But here's the thing, Katie, like I said earlier, I didn't look at the fear. Fear was not an option for me. I was actually less aware then than I am now. But I didn't look at the fear. I said, you know what? I have to do this. And it's a belief in yourself. I have to do this. By March the 5th, which was 4 days later, I had lunch with my little Hong Kong telecom guy, and he gave me $500,000 in investment for this business plan that I hadn't even really finished. He didn't even look at it, actually, but I talked about what I was doing. And it's the same, it's the old adage. If the old girlfriend is not good enough and you stay with her, you can't get the new girlfriend. But if you do get the new girlfriend, it's muddy, all right? And I'm not saying whether, back to your question, that's one way of doing it, all right? It's extremely risky, but once you release what you don't have, you can then move into what is belonging to you. If you really, really want it and believe it, you can actually suck it in. You can will it in. All right. So that's one option. And I did that option.
Wait, so what happened to the $500,000?
Well, it set Jeannie and I up for the next 2 years and our business went crazy. And for the next 3 or 4 years, we did really, really well. Then Jeannie was able to write her book for 2 years while I had that business running. So by the time I quit all that stuff and then moved into Listen to Your Gut, we then went back into being paupers again because we were starting all over again. All right. So that's what I mean. Like the whole thing is a conveyor belt anyway. So if you look at George, okay, so there's Tracy, okay, she's working in her job. She kind of likes it. She's got this great idea to, I don't know, sell cupcakes to all these children that are buying all these cupcakes at the school and fairs and things like that. She'd really like to be cooking more. She loves cooking, but she doesn't want to give up the job for the bills because she's got the family. And I mean, you hear this so many times.
Right.
You really have 2 options. It's actually very, very simple. Number one, you quit and you go for it and you make it work. You borrow, you get money from mom, you use your credit card, your husband pays you more or whatever, that you find a way to make it happen. If it really is your passion and purpose, you will make it happen, right? So the fact that you're asking the question in your business, so working for someone else, it means that you're not sure that that's really what you want to do, all right? The other option, you stay where you are, you do the Gary Vaynerchuk model, which is you stay where you are, you work even harder to make the money so that when you can step out into the big bad world on your own, you've actually got a little bit of cushion to do it. There is no right or wrong way, all right? So there's no book that will be written about this way is right, this way is wrong, because you know what? We're all different. We all resonate differently. Our circumstances are all different. It's like trying to raise a kid, all right? Everything's different. It's so dynamic. So you have to go within and figure out what can work for you, all right? So that would be my advice. For me, what worked for me is I couldn't work for someone else. I had to go out there and it was do or die, all right? That's it. And that's how I operate. It really is. Like, if my girlfriend's bad, done, move on to the next one. Businesses, move on to the next one, right? But other people might want to take 5 years to get it going. That's fine too, right? So that would be my answer. There is no answer. Inspire yourself and look internally and then move, right? You should just look at what Katie's done with her flower petals. I mean, that's brilliant as well. And I know the decision she's just made to go and buy some bricks and mortar to have this great flower power lounge. I mean, I'm like going, wow, that is balls. That's great. I love it.
Thank you.
Hello?
There's so many things I want to get into, but my brain just goes to like, can we talk about Asia for some reason?
Asia?
Yeah.
I love Asia.
I'm headed to Asia in a couple of weeks. I'll be there for a few months.
Asia, I think I used to be a Chinese person when I was older. I tell you, I lived in Hong Kong for 6 years. You know what? this is I'm glad you said this. This is something that we all should do way, 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 way more. And which is why the Chinese and especially the Asian populations are way better than us at operating. And when I got my first job in an ad agency there, my creative director, very smart guy, little Covent Garden boutique, he turns around and he says, Ian, it's going to take you 2 years to learn the culture here before you can even really make money and do business. And I looked at him and I thought, I don't understand what you're talking about here. And I was 27 years old and I started going out there in my own way. And I would never, and again, my awareness was not as good as it is now. And I now know what I was doing, but I was doing it subconsciously. I was not actually ever listening to people's words. I was actually listening to their hearts. And in Chinese and Japanese business situations, they look at your energy way more than they do in North America. It's not about, is Ian got an MBA? I mean, it's all very nice, all that, this title stuff. But if you resonate with who they are, oh my God, you can make mountains move, all right? And I absolutely nailed it there because of that reason. I was a whitey, called a guaylo, for a little foreigner. And I was like, all the Chinese would love me, all right? Because I resonated in their zone of energy, all right? And Katie, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just instinctually following who I was, all right? And so, and it's really funny because right now I say to Jeannie now, over the last 2 or 3 years, even in business now, I'll sit in a business meeting. I don't listen to the person's words much now. I actually listen. I watch their energy aura. I watch what's coming out of their body movement. I watch what's coming out of how they're expressing. And they're telling me really what's going on. And then the words can sugarcoat and the words can then jive sometimes with that. But I learned that in Hong Kong without realizing it. And in modern day North America, we are too rigid, we are too fixed, we are too black and white, we are too my word, your word, there's no trust. That's why everybody spends so much money with lawyers with agreements, because no one trusts each other, because no one's reading in relationship and in energy, all right? And Jeannie and I, when we have agreements, we have a one-pager, do or die, mate. I mean, if you want an agreement, there you go. Are you going to sue us? We don't want to work with you anyway, so we'll figure that out before we even do business with you, all right? So you can actually, in business, even in, well, more so in entrepreneurship, get rid of red tape by really choosing to work with much better people who really are on the same planes as you. And a good example of this is there's a lady called Katie Hess, who actually works with Jeannie and Ian, and we sell her stuff through our store. It's just materialized. It's never been, oh, Ian, you're going to sell my power potions and stuff. It's just materialized, right? There's no agreement in place because we both read each other's energy and resonate, and everything is all in the same plane, all right? I know this might sound a bit weird, but you should really try it. You know, you should, like, if you're working for someone else tomorrow, go into the office, and if your boss asks you to do something, listen to, watch how he's actually telling you what he's trying to tell you, and start reading him better. So if you hate your boss, right, understand that there's more going on behind that. And you might hate him a little bit less, and then you might get a little bit more out of it. So the whole thing can change in your direction very, very quickly if you shift, right? I know it's getting a bit wacky here, but
how does that affect your relationships with, say, your wife, your kids, your friends, your, I don't know, the parents of the, you know, guys that you're coaching soccer? How do you take those listening skills? Like, walk us through a method. Like, what are you actually doing?
What do I do and how do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I'll give you a good example here. My eldest son, Oscar, and those of you who've got teenagers, oh my gosh, I'll tell you, with the amount of weed and all that type of stuff around, I tell you, this is a pathway. Let me tell you this. So he's an 18-year-old boy, kind of graduates. We live in a lovely place in the middle of the country. We give him a car for his birthday, which he has to earn, and blah, blah, blah. And I do all the driving for my children. And instead of doing the normal parent thing, where you say, right, you will drive these children to school, I have to work, and you basically conform to the control mechanisms of parenting that we're not taught, but people were supposed to know about. Jeannie and I backed right off him. We gave him space, right? We gave him space to move, to breathe, to think. He's 18, hormones, peer group, no money, expensive to live, jobs to find, everyone going to university, all these things that are laying down on a poor 18-year-old who hasn't even figured out like his diet yet type thing, all right? And I'll spin forward one more year. And I tell you, it's really hard. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because I just want to jump in and go, right, I can fix you. I can tell you how to do this. You can do it this way. But great restraint and control, you back right off.
Wow.
I went to England 2 weeks ago, and he had to drive the kids to school while I was away. I came back. He came to me and said, Dad, you need to lie in a bit now, and you need to do a bit more business. So I will now take the kids to school for you, if you pay me. So I'm going, sure. All right. And so what could have been a horrible dance for me for a year, where I'm trying to tell this kid to drive, I allowed him to be able to make that decision. I allowed him to move into his power. I allowed him to educate himself, thinking, yeah, I love my dad. Maybe he needs a bit of help here. All right. So the whole thing is a dance. All right. And sometimes you're not ready to dance with that partner yet. Sometimes you are. And it's the same in business. All right. You can't force a relationship in business if it's not ready to move. You just can't do it. So trying to get an agreement with someone who is going to screw you or is not interested in signing, and then trying to do it, it's going to go sour. It really will. Maybe a year later, everyone is a little bit in a different position, and you're able to move forward together, and you both win, right? So, I know we're covering a lot of very interesting topics here. We could go a lot of deep in a lot of these, and I hope I'm not going too wacky here, but, I'm just trying to give you introspective that business is not one-dimensional. It really isn't. And especially nowadays, it's becoming even more. You've got to be more and more attuned with your customers, with your suppliers, with the people you work with your venture partners, with your employees. People are demanding more in relationship now, socially. That's what's going on out there. And you have to behave like that too. You can't behave like we're a big corporation. We sell stuff for this. We sell stuff for this. You've got to buy it. If you don't like it, tough. Right? That was the old model. And companies like, your flower essences and stuff, companies like ours, listen to your gut. We don't do that anymore. We're breaking down the barriers of how business is done. It's wonderful. And it's a great time to be able to get into business like this. If you really enjoy freedom, if you really enjoy passion about what you want to do, and purpose in what you want to do, and meaning in what you want to do, and have great ideas. There's so many ways you can get out there and do it. It's just fabulous, right? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Marvelous.
If
any of you are getting bored right now, please don't turn off. There's only about another 20 minutes, right? 25 minutes. And Katie's voice is nicer than mine. Mine might sound a bit funny because it's British, but you could have a laugh too. Bring a bit of joy out there.
So let's talk about team dynamics and one thing you said about people are demanding more socially. And I'm just curious, like in terms of your team, I mean, you are very successful. You run a very successful business. I know, because you've shared some of your numbers with me in the past, and yet you're running this like very big company on a very small team.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And I'm sort of kind of similar to you in that we also have a small team, and we're very close knit like a family, and we break a lot of boundaries in terms of, this hierarchical structure, and
I love that.
bossing people around. It like we hang out a lot together outside of work and go out lunch and go, enjoy social things. So talk to me a little bit about your team, how it fits together, how you can be professional, but you're also like helping them grow and evolve as people.
Good. Brilliant question. And it's super critical that if any of you out there are looking to start your own business, this is a fundamental part that you have to get right, because it's going to be unforgiving if you don't. All right. And in 1999, when we set up Listen to Your Gut, we made 3 or 4 huge strategic decisions, which we still swear by. And one of those decisions was, we will never take on employees for Listen to Your Gut. And that might seem harsh and callous, but both Jeannie and I, number one, wanted to work from home to raise our family. And then number 2, we felt that the new age was coming around the corner, and we felt the empowerment of people would be way better for what we were trying to do if they worked for themselves, if they became more entrepreneurial, if they became more accountable for themselves, if they, and blah, 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 all right? And it was a risk. It was a huge risk, because in those days, it didn't, all the Upworks and all the, cheap sites, Fiverrs, all that stuff didn't even exist, all right? So finding people to fit that model right back in 1999 was tough, which is why we didn't do anything for about a couple of years. And that's, I did everything for 3 or 4 years, because we just couldn't, we didn't have the money, and I had to learn everything and blah, blah, blah. But when the jewel in the crown started to come, as in Justin, who is now our CTO, general CTO, whatever he is. And this is a great story. I hired him through, we were using this 800 number service company, and the lady decided to quit, pull out. I said, well, do you know anyone that could take over? And she says, yeah, this guy called Justin. So I rang up Justin and said, here you go, here's a job for you. He says, all right. I didn't ask him for a CV. I didn't ask him his age. I didn't ask any of it, right? I didn't even ask Christine how she knew him. Anyway, it took me, I didn't meet Justin for 3 years, but he sat under my wing 3 to 4 years. And I just basically just reamed him on everything, right? And I said, this is the role you're going to be subcontracting for the rest of your life within Listen to Your Gut, blah, blah, blah. I find out 4 years later from Christine that she met him by playing war games online, Warcraft or something like that, right? Like, I would never have hired him if I'd have asked that question. That they were gamers. I thought they were best friends. But anyway, that's just to say. But anyway, but Justin now, he's been with us for 10 years. He's now mini Ian. He runs this whole ship as though it was his.
I love Justin.
And it comes down to another key component if you're setting up your own business, right? We have created a culture, an energy, and an ecosystem with Listen to Your Gut, which is all about meaning. It's all about the consumer or client or customer's experience with what we do and how they benefit and the healing process and the healing journey and blah, blah, blah. And the people who become part of this have to believe and get into that ecosystem. Otherwise, they're not going to be part of it.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so to answer your question about the employee stuff and all these guys, Vaynerchuk, they all go on about it now, right? They have to, your people have to really buy in to what you're all about. And I actually, I measure our staffing or our people on how our customers are viewing what we do. That's the main metric. And I read every single service email every day as to what's going on with the interaction with the people who are buying from us or reading reports or whatever it is, as to how they are being looked after, how they're being handled, and their outtake of what Listen to Your Gut means to them. And our team is so brilliant because that's what they base their day-to-day operations on. It's all about that. It's all about the experience of the customer, all right? We are so lucky, Katie, because once Justin bought in, now Isabel's bought in. Once Isabel's bought in, we have a whole team of 6 people in the Philippines and India and stuff. They've been with us 5, 6, 7 years. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And even I joke, I say, why are you guys still here? And they turn around and go, well, we love working with you guys. And it's like you said, I see all pictures of you and Taylor and all those guys going to Costa Rica. And I go, that is a family. That is a culture. That is an energy system. That is something where people really are bought into the whole system of what flower power is all about. And if someone's sitting there at their desk not knowing what to do with the little idea that they have, you really have such an amazing opportunity to create a passion and energetic style business, which obviously has to make money too, and can thrill lots of people who can buy into what you're doing. It's quite amazing if you get out there and just do it, right? Oof.
Freedom. Let's talk about freedom.
I love freedom, baby.
Oh God.
Where do you start?
Wait. Let's start let's end on freedom.
Yeah.
Before we get to freedom, tell me some of your biggest business mistakes.
Oh, baby. Oh, man. Where do you want to go? Okay, here's another thing. Here's another misconception, right? Every successful entrepreneur you see up there on stage, whether it's $1 billion baby or $2 million or $600,000 baby or even $100,000 baby, let me tell you this for a start. We have all royally messed up. And I'm talking royally messed up. There is no one who has got to where they are in terms of a money bank balance or a successful customer business. You have to have failed, if you can call it failure. I never call our business mess ups failures, actually, Katie. I always call them the next step for growth of opportunity, right? Like, you have to go through it. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn very quickly how to overcome them, which is why when you set up a business, you are going to have cash flow problems, people problems, product problems, distribution problems, production, manufacturing problems. Because if you don't have those problems at the beginning, you will never know how to handle those problems when the stakes are bigger, higher, and the risks are even bigger.
Yes.
Because everything that you've learned in those 5 years of screw ups, you will be able to go, I handled that before. Now, one of our biggest screw ups, actually, I don't know, I've got so many little stories to tell you. There was one huge screw up. We had a bunch of product delivered to our facility by a guy that we trusted. Never trust a guy, I'm just joking. But we didn't do an energy balance trust with this guy. He was like, we were desperate. We made a decision.
Listening to his heart.
Yeah, I didn't follow that one because all of a sudden he got me out of jail a little bit and I realized, oh man, and he jumped on, saw how good we were and tried to mess us around. Anyway, another story. So we had all this product arrive in our facility. I know, 3,000 tubs, and cash flow was not strong then, Katie, maybe 10 years ago. And I went down one day to check it and I was looking, man, all these labels are crinkled. All these labels are peeling off. I'm going, they haven't put these labels on properly in the manufacturing. This guy he's cheaped out on something. They've either used the wrong label or the glue's not right. And I'm going, now, you put yourself in this position. What do you now do? Do you send out a crappy looking product to your customers?
You can't.
Or do you, because you have to for cash flow, or from a quality point of view, do you send them all back to be relabeled, which is another 2 months out of inventory? So we have no sales for 2 months, and then people are all unhappy because they don't have a product. What do you do? All right. So we had to pivot real quick. So we printed up some new labels.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I would have done.
Shipped them all up to the facility and we put them all one by one.
Oh, totally. That's exactly.
We could get product out the door so customers could win. And I spent God knows how many hours in a stupid warehouse peeling off these labels, getting really angry, going, man, I can't believe this label. It's cost me another $3,000. And then putting a label, oh, thank goodness someone can get their product now. So again, customer focus, customer centric focused decision. But you get used to that because can I say a bad word?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The shit is going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's not that bad, is it? So, but I've got countless stories like that, but without those things, yeah. Another one, oh man, this is another one. We had a bank that we were using. All right. And all of a sudden out of nowhere, they just rang me up and said, we're shutting your account down. Okay. And they wouldn't give me all the reasons. I kind of knew what was going on, but they just shut our account down. And I said, Jeannie, what do we now do? Oh my God. And I panicked a bit. And Jeannie says, okay, we just need to find another bank. Got on the phone, 2-3 hours. She sets up the appointments because I'm frazzled, right? I can't make the decision. So Jeannie, we tag team it. Jeannie gets on the phone and then sends me down. I go have 3 meetings. The bank account is set up 3 hours later with someone else. All right. So again, you pivot quickly. Don't sit there and wallow. Don't say, oh my God, woe is me. I'm a victim. What's going to happen? I can't believe the bank shut down. We're not going to have any money. How are we going to get over this? Oh my God, let's go out for a drink. Let's drown our sorrows. And then the next thing you got a headache. Oh my God, we still got the same problem. It hasn't gone away yet. Now You understand what I mean? You have to make a decision. Again, doing is learning. Have we set up with the right or wrong bank? It's been the most amazing decision we've ever made, because we've been with this bank now for 15 years, and then they've been brilliant. And we chose them in 2 hours, Katie. There was no contact there. We just picked the freaking phone up and we made a decision. You know?
That reminds me of the time the fulfillment center company called us up and said, just letting you know, we went bankrupt. You can remove your over 3,000 pounds of product within the next 48 hours, or it will be confiscated as part of the bankruptcy.
Oh my God. See, and you've got to pivot. You got to freaking, like, you know, it's not primroses and daisies and daffodils. It's lovely on the surface. Everyone makes their business look like that. Underneath, it's a ride and a half. And you know, the key thing is the other key thing that you have to learn in entrepreneurship too is how to respond, and how to respond quickly. All right, your responsive rate you have to learn. And this is not something you can learn on books or courses. You have to look at yourself. If you go down because you get depressed because you've got no more money, how are you going to get more customers if someone's just quit, the product just, whatever that is. You have to learn quickly how to jump back up and play how brilliant you are, because you wouldn't have got to where you are if you're being successful without being the brilliant person that you are. So you have to flick yourself back into that as soon as you can. Meditation, tapping, running, sweating, all that type of stuff. I don't know what it is, all right? You've got to find your key driver that can. My driver is this. I work out 3 times a week with a personal trainer. Jeannie's father says to me, "That's expensive." And I say to him, Sharon, without it, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now with my kids or my business. It is the best $50 I spend an hour in that day, because I start jumbled, because I've normally done 2 hours with the kids, right? And then I work out, and I finish clean. I literally finish like, wow. Clear. Absolutely. And that, to me, for example, that could be like you and Taylor doing your Tai Chi in the morning, which I see, or doing your yoga, or, you know, everybody choose your poison. It doesn't matter what it is. Go for riding your bike, go out with your horses. Genius is horses, right? You've got to find your own poison to take yourself from, you know, the vibration of too much to, man, I'm good. I've got it going on. I'm ready. You know. Another thing, which is critical, which is this is how I love to operate now. And I don't necessarily set clear objectives anymore. Right? I don't write down on my piece of paper, I need to make 4 phone calls today, 3 reports, this meeting with Jeannie, blah, blah, blah. Right? I've become so fluent, like riding a bike, that I can now process this stuff energetically in a way which is like, think of it like a woodpecker on a tree. Tap, 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 tap. A woodpecker doesn't write down where he has to do. He just goes tap, 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 tap. And he finds the little ant, right? Or the worm or the bug. Because he's so fluent in who he is as a bird, right? So yourself, don't get too freaking scientific with your business. All these ways, you could use that, blah, blah, blah. You've got to be creative in how you flow, all right? Unless you really are a writey down type person. But use those things as tools, but really play as to who you really are and what works for you, all right? And what I now do on a day-to-day basis, the only objective I have is I try to make more than 10 people laugh a day. That's it. I'm being serious. I walk in the bank now, they laugh before I even get in the line. There'll be 3 tellers. They all know me so well. They're all lovely old ladies. Before I even walk in, they catch my eye and she starts laughing. And I'll go up to the teller. I say, "Hey, Treasy, you done your hair for me today, ain't you? You finally going to take me for coffee?" Oh, she goes, "Ian, stop it. Stop it now. Stop it." But you know what? I don't have to get my banking done quickly. And I don't have to never get charged for a bank draft. But I don't intentionally go out there, right? How can I screw Tracer to give me a free bank draft, right? So you see, because if you play who you are, business just flows all over the place. It's amazing. It really, really is good. I'm not saying everyone has to be like me, but you know, you're beautiful in who you are, Katie. How you move, how you do your South American dancing. You got your Tai Chi. You got Costa Rica. You can tell you flow, and what will come with that with the business is growth. It just happens that way because you are so open to the energetic growth of what you love doing. Because it's not a law of attraction, but it just will happen that way. It just will if you keep being who you are. It's wonderful. And what I do see, and I see this across the board, and you probably will agree with me on this, I see people getting blocked. And I see people getting blocked so easily. And I see people getting blocked and stuck. And it really frustrates me because I try to see, but most of the time I see brilliance in everybody. And everybody has a brilliance that can be shared out there in their own particular way. It doesn't matter what they do. Even if you're a gardener it doesn't matter what you do. I'm not saying even if you're a gardener. Gardeners, they're brilliant, all right? And it saddens me when they could promote themselves way better. I'm not saying marketing wise, but have way better lives with how brilliant that they are, all right? I'm just using, that's not necessarily a good example, but you understand what I mean. The blocks just stop people from being brilliant, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you're saying that the more you can evolve into being more and more of who you are, the more quickly your business will grow energetically.
It's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable that will happen. You don't actually need to set out objectives to do that. The more that you thrive in who you are, the more brilliance just follows. It's just freaking, it's simple. It's actually simple.
Yeah. I remember you're actually the one who told me. I remember visiting you in Vancouver, and you were saying to me,
oh, what did I say?
Where I'm going to say you're right, Ian. I think, like, you know, God, you just, like, we get so bogged down in our businesses. We're just like, you know, there was a time when I was working every night till like 9 p.m. and just super burning myself out. And I remember you said to me, you need to get out and spend more time in the flower fields.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. And you did.
And I did. I went to Iceland. I went to Costa Rica. I started traveling around and just following kind of like curiosity and wonder.
But at the end of the day, Katie, I mean, and I see this with you, where you're so wonderful is when you're out in those fields and you take one picture of a red flower in the middle of the freaking desert. And that's probably one of the most inspiring pictures I'll see for that day. Because I go, you really are playing who you really are. And that's why people buy into what you have. Because it's so essentially, authentically Katie. It just is, right? It just is. I love it.
And so in terms of talking about freedom to be who you are, how has your business or how has your practices allowed you to be more free in who you are in order to grow your business and your life and your world? Tell me about freedom in your life.
Well, yeah, freedom is a very interesting definition. I think if you can break freedom down into very, very small packets, again, you know, it comes back down to living your journey, right? If you're living your journey, then you're free, right? You can't be living in your journey if you're at a job or if you're an entrepreneur or whatever, and you're trying to seek the $6 million, or I'm waiting for my retirement when I'm 70 or whatever, because you're not present. You're not free in that particular minute. You're locking yourself up to be free when that $6 million has been created, or you've retired and finally you can go on that cruise because you don't have to go to work anymore and stuff like that. You feel free then. And where I truly believe entrepreneurship has been amazing for me is that it allows me the freedom today to be able to sit on this phone call with you, having no pressure to make any money right this hour, having no intention of getting any of you on this podcast to buy anything that I have to sell, because that's not the intention, but having the freedom that hopefully something that I might say might trigger you out there in the big bad world, for you to have to buy yourself a little bit more freedom, whatever that might be, whether it's going to your son's soccer game where you won't be able to go before, or going out for dinner with your husband, or maybe leaving your job to try and go into your business or whatever. And that to me is what I would define as freedom, where you can actually go through your day living that journey where freedom exists, that you're actually choosing to do what you want to do and when you want to do it. And obviously there's always constraints, like, you know, if you've got to go and get some money and raise some money, or go on a business trip and maybe you didn't want to do it because you've got a headache or whatever. Right? You know, they're more the minutia, but on a bigger scheme of things, you know, I think freedom comes from me where I can wake up and I'm not controlled by no one, Katie. Zero, apart from my kids and Jeannie, and the horses and the dogs and the cats. But you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't have to report to a job person. I don't have to report to a shareholder. I don't have to, you know, I don't have these boring, stupid 4-hour meetings where you don't accomplish anything. I work for an hour and I accomplish more than maybe people in 8 hours, because I've got my zone, I've got my journey down to a T. All right. And I learned to be a woodpecker, go kids, and that's how I roll.
I know you have to go soon because I know you have to shoot a show.
Oh,
but
baby, yeah, 10, 20. We've got to do another one of these.
Tell me, just give me a quick snapshot of like what your average day is like.
This is a really good question. So I get up in the morning about 7. I used to take the kids to school until my son took it, and I'm actually going through withdrawal symptoms right now because I like to talk to my kids going to school. But this is really brand new for me, but it's actually nice. So I'll go and work out at 9 on Monday, Tuesday, or Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, Jeannie and I have a breakfast, but I'll do a bit of work. Then I will take Jeannie probiotics in the morning, and I'll make myself a little shake, which is milk and protein and all that type of stuff to live healthy. Then I will connect with Jeannie. Then I'll go out to do my laughing jobs, which is making the bank laugh and making suppliers laugh and making this laugh and making that laugh and accomplishing a whole bunch of things. Then I spend a lot of time driving my son to soccer on a Monday, Tuesday, Friday. He's potentially might go pro in England. So that's one of our big challenges right now. How do we handle that? That's another story. I'll talk to you about that one later. But I don't ever see my day as, and then I get on a call with you maybe. I have a Skype call with our team. I'm using, has everyone ever heard of a cell phone? Yeah, I use that thing. Without that thing, I tell you, my life would not be as blessed as it is. So thank you, Stevie. Thank you, Stevie, for bringing down, you know, people will say to me, oh, you should like limit screen time of your children's phones. I go, why would I do that? Why would you limit? Why would you limit infinity? Like, that's how these kids are learning. Like, we all want people to buy online, and then we say, well, you got to limit using it. I'm going, are you crazy? Okay, there are health benefits to it, but yeah. So yeah, you know, every day I maybe work on a Saturday, I maybe work on a Sunday, and then I go back to England. This is funny too. I go back to England 2 weeks ago. She goes, Ian, I'm a bit worried about you. We're not, you know. What are you going to be? What are you going to retire on? How are you going to retire? Will you spend lots of money? I said, Mum, I'm retired now. And she looks at me, she goes, but you're working. I said, why am I working? I'm here with Hugo Soccer. But you're on your phone. I said, yeah, I'm checking with Jeannie as well. I said, Mum, you don't understand what I do. Let me try to help you understand what I do again. And it's only taken me 20 years, and she finally is starting to understand it. But you see what I mean? Freedom. Retirement is a thing of natural beauty. You
built a business that has income coming in. You got to check things here and there, but you can choose what you want to do with the time you want to do.
Correct. Yeah. And you know what? I say to them, you know, my job right now with my kids, I've actually broken it down to be very, very simple. All I want to do with my children, and actually I want to do this with the Justins and all the people that work with us, I want to accelerate the opportunity that those people have on this planet. Because I have a lot of awareness now. I have a lot of track record. I have a lot of age. I have a lot of wisdom. I have a lot of inspiration. I'm quite funny sometimes, even if you look at me. And a whole bunch of these packaged up, I actually enjoy helping and inspiring people because it makes me happy. It just really does. It makes me smile. And so my 3 children, that's all I do now. I just try to freaking accelerate opportunity, right? I don't limit it. I don't say, oh, you got to learn for yourself. You've got to work for 40 years before you can actually have a proper car and things like that. I go, you know what? If I help these children accelerate, then maybe they can help more people too. And that it's a different way of looking at it, all right? It's like if I can help Justin be even more brilliant, he's going to help more people heal themselves with Crohn's disease. It's rather than, oh, Justin, I'm going to hold back on your pay for the next 5 years because you made a couple of errors this year. And so he's going to be totally unmotivated to help my people. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's real flipping it on the other side of inspiring. If everyone goes out there just to inspire just a little bit, think how brilliant energetically we could make this whole thing. All right. It's freaking amazing. Love it.
If you had, some words of wisdom, something that just springs to your heart or something you find yourself commonly telling other people as words of inspiration, what would you say?
The most important thing to me is you have to enjoy the journey. And I've mentioned it a few times on this call. And this has become more and more critical from my perspective. The more people I see, the more people are going through the motions. They're not living purpose. They're not living meaning, right? They're not leaning in. They're hitting the comfort zone and turning back. They're not putting their head above the water and going, shit, it's actually quite nice up here, right? They're hitting the surface tension and they don't have the wherewithal just to put their nose through, let alone like freaking the whole head, and they just turn back and they swim back down into their mire or whatever, all right? And with, everyone talks, oh, the world is in such trouble now, da, 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 da. And I look and go, if it's in such trouble, why aren't all of us fighting World War IV right now? Because I tell you what, my grandfather nearly got killed in World War I and World War II. We are very fortunate. The shit that goes on this planet ain't that bad relatively. And there's actually an awfully lot of good shit going on that actually can suppress a lot of the bad shit if all of us focus on the good shit. I should be president. But you know what I mean, right? I'm playing down all the issues, but you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to think vision. You have to think big. You have to think purpose. You have to think meaning. You have to play big time. You have to dream big time continually. If you don't dream big time, you shouldn't be doing your own business. If you're selling cupcakes, sell freaking e-cupcakes or whatever it is. Think big and then do the journey to get there. All right. And I think too many of us don't. Too many of us are just happy to just go, well, I've got my kids. I can't afford to do this now. Oh, it's a bit too much of a pressure. Husband won't let me do this. Too tired. I've got a lot going on. It's just the same old. That's freaking nonstop. And then you're going, get over it already. Are you that happy? Well, I'll be happy in 20 years when I'm retired and I've got my pension, and then I'll probably get a disease because I've been eating really bad food. And so it goes on, right? So my key thing for all of you to take out, step back into your journey, step back into your purpose more, think a little bit more about who you are and why and what you're doing. And if it's not in line with who you are, change it. Even if it's a small change, even if it means you're going to the gym once a week, even if it means you take a Tai Chi class because you've always been interested in Tai Chi, right? Do that extra one little thing that might make such a small difference in your psyche that you can then start to shift and make that change, all right? And this is not necessarily even about entrepreneurship.
Love it.
Would you agree on that one or not?
Absolutely.
Good.
Love it.
And here, I've got one more thing for you. Just because Katie portrays me as being successful and all that type of stuff, every day is a new day. Every day I love soccer. Every day is 0-0. It doesn't matter if freaking Warren Buffett, whoever they are, they got tons of money. It's still 0-0. All right? He's still a human being. And at the end of the day, we're all going to hit 70, 75, 80. And at the end of the day, we're all going to limit our movement. And we're going to limit our conversation. And you have to be happy at that 75, 80-year-old that the narrative that you have created for yourself is in line with who you are. Because if it ain't, you just got to come back down and do it again. So give yourself a journey, get this one out the way, and then come back as an elephant or a cat or whoever you want to be and do something different. But we're moving into different zones here.
Oh, thank you so much, Ian. I'm sure we'll have you back. We can get into some more like tactical things, but
it would be a good idea. And I think it might be fun to get into, as you said, some marketing stuff or some,
maybe I could ask you for advice about the businesses I have rolling now with LOTUSWEI and Thompson.
Yeah, we can make it more of a business phone call next one where you just have specific questions on, and we can just brainstorm. Hey, that's an idea, because we can maybe make the podcast about mentorship and how beneficial mentorship is two-way from that perspective, right? That's another thing out there. If you are a business owner, it's freaking lonely. Whatever you do, find yourself like-minded people you can share shit with. Like this podcast today has been extremely beneficial to me today. Extremely. You would not even believe how wired I am now, because it's put me back into my zone, right? And Katie has engineered it, not me, Katie did. So find good people that you can hang and chat and inspire and talk about, because, it's great. Love it. And one of the other things, getting back to your question, Katie, I know I'm going on a bit here, I've got to go now, but is that you asked me what I do every day. Before I come down, I get my Flower Power Infinite Love. I squirt it on my face.
Woo!
Yeah, I do. After I put my olive oil on first, and then I squirt my Infinity Love. And I tell you what, it makes me feel lovely. It makes me feel, oh, Jeannie, I think we should be going back upstairs, my darling. It works. I love this Katie. Let's get her back on a call. Anyway, you don't want to hear any more naughty things.
If you all are looking for, I would just recommend you go to the website listentoyourgut.com. That's the business that Ian and Jeannie have grown up among other businesses that they have. That is kind of where the whole thing started, with helping people with digestive issues and Crohn's and funky food sensitivities and stuff that we pretty much all are dealing with today. So check out listentoyourgut.com if you want to see an example of one of Ian's businesses. And thank you so much for being with us, Ian. Katie,
you are a luscious, lovely legend.
Thank you very much.
Them flowers in the desert are extremely lucky to have you bring their brilliance to all of us. That's all I will say.
Thanks so much, Ian. And then in terms of the full business, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about what we'll find and what you're up to with the full business?
The full business was my effort to inspire and talk about my legacy and story, because people kept saying, oh, you should put that on video, But I've been a bit slack recently because I haven't been doing too much in that regard. But because I've lost a bit of focus on that side of it, because we've been so busy with a whole bunch of other stuff. See, there we go again. I'm failing in that area, right? But the full business is still alive, and actually it will be used to push a program we have called listentoyourfreedom.com, which is a program Jeannie put together. And again, Jeannie and I are going to collaborate. It's a really good program, but it's not quite there yet. We're figuring out how we use me as a vehicle to be able to help people within Listen to Freedom. But it's the thing is here, it's like I said before, do and learn. Without doing it, I wouldn't be here now. So it's kind of stuck. It's kind of stuck going around on the record, but it's going to go somewhere. But again, if I hadn't done it, we wouldn't have found out where we were going to go, right? So just do something, just get out there and do something. That's all I can say, really, really, please. And if you really have got bored of Katie's voice, I totally empathize. My voice is much nicer. I'll do the next podcast.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Katie, you really are the full business. We do love you.
Thank you so much for listening to The Flower Lounge. I'm Katie Hess, and we'll be releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you heard, or you know someone who might be touched by our conversation, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe. To find out what your favorite flowers mean about you, take the quiz at LOTUSWEI.com.